Hey guys, welcome to day 8, Law 8, the Law of Intuition. Leaders evaluate everything with a leadership bias. Leaders evaluate everything with a leadership bias. What does that mean? It means that leaders evaluate everything with a different perspective than followers might. John Maxwell talks about how followers might evaluate things on what they're working on right now. Leaders might be doing things with something that's 10 years ahead in mind. Why? Because they're leading with a different vision. They're leading with a different perspective. These sunglasses are causing me to perceive this computer that I'm filming on right now in a different way than it would if I took these glasses off. Why? Because it was a lens that caused me to perceive differently. Intuition becomes a lens through which we as leaders perceive the world differently. Well, what does that mean? Well, intuition gives us the ability to kind of be on a different wavelength. It tells us if something is happening right now, if something we feel like is going to happen, conditions are sort of changing with where we're at right now, where the leadership is right now, or if opportunity is fast approaching in the future without us having any facts pointing towards it one way or another. It's a feeling. It's sort of a sixth sense of leadership. It's on a different wavelength. It's very similar to discernment, which would be the like understanding kind of what's going on without really knowing what's going on, but still having a proper understanding of that. Ed Young Sr., who's a pastor out in Texas, he pastored a church that was about 60 to 80,000 over the span of several years. That was right about where they were, the largest church in the United States, Second Baptist in Texas. And this is what he said. I heard him speak one time. This is what he said. He said, if you as a leader don't have discernment, if you as a leader don't have intuition, you either need to leave what you're doing or get around somebody who does. Why? Because if we don't have this intuition, we're not going to perceive as leaders should. We're going to have a different perception of the world around us. We're not going to be able to read people. We're not really going to know if something's happening around us and we're not sure about it. We're not really going to see opportunity coming. We're not really going to see change happening. Why? Because we don't have that sense of intuition that allows leaders to evaluate everything with a leadership bias. We're not working out of vision. We're working out of the now. And that's not what, as leaders, we're called to do. We're called to work through the process. We're called to influence people towards a vision. Now, the application of this is simple in ideology, but difficult in practice. So it's easy because I can just sit here and say, develop discernment and intuition. Develop intuition. Develop the ability to evaluate with that leadership bias. Develop the ability to see into things. But it seems like, is that not something that's innate? Well, John Maxwell actually talks about how that can be an innate factor, but when it's not, you work for it. You grind to get the goods. You grind to receive and to develop your level of intuition, to develop your discernment, if you will. How? Well, first you gotta sit down and get some books, and you gotta read some books, and you gotta put some time in some books and learn about people, learn about situations, learn about communication, learn about psychology, learn about these different things that allow us to figure out what's going on around us that compound into this thing we call intuition. What's another way? You get some teaching. Learn some teaching on this. Literally, this chapter of the book, chapter 8, on this law of intuition, is teaching on intuition, on teaching the importance of intuition. But if we look at teaching on intuition, and we'll look at different ways in which we can start to step our intuition game up and develop greater influence as a result, as we grow in our ability to evaluate as a leader should, and walk around with that constant lens of perspective, that constant lens of intuition that we can walk in. And third, I thought this was very interesting that John Maxwell pointed this out. He said, people watch. People watch. Sit down somewhere and you kind of creep on people. You watch them and you kind of start to figure out. You do some ethnographic study and you look at them and you study these people and you say, okay, based on body language, based on words, based on how they're walking, based on what's going on, could I determine what that person is going through, what that person is thinking about right now? Do I have a sense of intuition as to whether maybe they're struggling with their marriage? Do I have a sense of intuition to discern whether they just got a promotion at work? Do I have the discernment, do I have the intuition to figure out, to have that idea whether the team around me is excelling and really trying, or if they're just going through the motions and making it look good on paper just to please me so I'd sign a paycheck. Intuition is crucial for the leader. So, with that in mind, I hope you guys can learn to develop your intuition and grow in that so that you as a leader might evaluate everything with the leadership bias. See you guys tomorrow.